Welcome to Cinder Blitz. This channel will be covering different folk tales and fairy tales, Cinderella in particular, as the title of the channel would imply, as well as some Robin Hood. This week I am starting a huge binge. I originally was just going to do a top 20 list of Cinderella movies. That were some of my personal favorites. With some analysis based on, what I thought was good character development and story and characterization and different versions. I think they did better on the Cinderella character, but not so much on the Prince character, or vice versa. And when I made the list, I had a whole bunch of different movies that I'd seen a long time ago, hadn't seen in a while when I first made the list, and so a lot of that was based on memory. How much does it stick with you too, and that's a subjective thing. It's like, what was memorable, what was good, what was bad, was there something that kind of pushed it down on the list, or something just so good I have to put it up higher on the list. So it was a very subjective list. And then I decided, well, I hadn't seen some of these films in a while, so I should rewatch them. And then I found, well, there's a lot of Cinderella films that I haven't seen yet. And there's one film that, like, I vaguely remember watching as a kid, I was probably still in, like, middle school, high school. But it's been a really long time, and I couldn't remember the title. I just remember it was black and white, and the Cinderella character was graduating from boarding school, because it was a contemporary retelling for the time that the film was made. And I was digging and digging around trying to find this one particular version of it, and in the process I found a whole big bunch of really fun looking Cinderella movies. And so I decided, well, I'm gonna have to do this the right way and rewatch these and take notes and review them. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to review a whole big bunch of Cinderella movies, and this week I have 15 from the library that is due back in 5 days, and I would have liked to have gotten started on the list a lot sooner, but it was a really busy weekend for me. So I'm going to have to be watching all 15 of these, most of them today actually, and hopefully I can do that. Some of them I might have to try to check out from the library again another time. And I'll be uploading the reviews about twice a week, one on Tuesday and one on Thursday. And so that's going to keep busy through, this channel will be busy through the month of September covering a lot of those. And then come October, I hope to be posting a bunch of more kind of videos, analysis of different books, novels. I'll try to read, like, the novelizations of Enchanted, the original novel versus the movie adaptation, because there's actually quite a few of those. Also, there's the Japanese novel called Ochikobomu, which is Caved In. And so I'll be reading that and doing a book review on that, as well as maybe doing a geography and history of Cinderella. There's so many interesting aspects for Cinderella. Cinderella is not my personal favorite fairy tale. Maybe someday I'll do like my top 5, top 10 favorite fairy tales. But Cinderella is definitely one of those that you can see its footprint in so many different cultures and languages and places around the world. And even in the 1800s, 1900s, as Western colonies were made in the New World, quote unquote, then you see versions in the Caribbean and South America coming up with their own Cinderella story. Um, and so it's interesting to see that, like, of all the different fairy tales that people have handed down, either verbally through oral tradition or through written traditions and translations and rewriting it through translations, this is like the story that people find interesting enough to adapt to their culture and to tell to their children, the next generation, and that, you know, it has something there. So even though it's not my personal favorite from a perspective of Viking culture and languages and geography and things, I just find it really fascinating. So I definitely like to cover some of that. So yes, and then like I said, I like to cover some Robin Hood. That's interesting. As the channel description says, like an amateur folklorist, Robin Hood is one of those folklores like that could be history. It could be totally made up. It could actually be a culmination of different historical people retold and repackaged. And of course, excuse me, some of the plays in the 1500s and such added definitely some fiction to it. And then as those get adapted into film, there's more and more fictionalization of the story. But nevertheless, you know, John, who's prince and then king, and then his brother beforehand, King Richard, and the Crusades, the Third Crusades, those are historical people, historical event there. Um, John and Richard did have a standoff at the Nottingham Castle. That's historical, and that's interesting that there's these little elements that could point to historical Robin Hood. Probably not, maybe not, but I find it interesting to read about and sometimes talk about, collect pictures of. And so, yeah, I'll be covering a little bit of that too. For now, though, the Cinderella list is the movie reviews going to be keeping me busy, and then the books, because I'm a slow reader, so that's going to be a challenge. But I think the stories will be fun enough not to be too challenging, just a good read, and I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, and so, you know, if you're interested in just fairy tales and Disney stuff, and I will be talking about Disney at some point, and all their numerous versions. I mean, obviously, a lot of the movies on my list have the Disney label on them. So, Disney's certainly had their hand in playing so many different versions. The first movie I'm going to be reviewing is actually Warner Brothers, so that's going to be interesting. I got some from MGM, I have some from little European studios or whatever, and it's all going to be a lot of fun comparing these different films and the different ways to approach Cinderella. It says the 40 plus films I have to eventually get through, and their differences, whether they're live action, animation, fantasy, you know, in the fairy tale land, or historical placement, or contemporary retellings. There's so many different approaches to this that it's going to be as fun and varied as looking at the history of the fairy tales and the translations and retellings and trying to figure out which one really is the oldest and original Cinderella. And, you know, why is this story so fascinating to so many people across cultures? I think that is so awesome and fun. And I hope you will enjoy this. And, you know, maybe you'll just be here to check out one or two movie reviews. Maybe you'll be interested in some of the novels or the book versus movie comparisons when I get to those, or when I get to talking about the Disney adaptations. I mean, maybe you'll find those more interesting depending on what your interest is. But I do hope to cover some things that will be food for thought and entertaining, and hopefully encourage you to watch a movie. I mean, there's probably going to be some films that I'm going to have to watch and then talk about, but I'm excited about some of the good ones. My personal three favorites, you know, from a subjective standpoint, my personal favorites are Glass Slipper and the Rose, which is a BBC movie think it was made in the 70s. It was a musical. I think it's really awesome because of the supporting cast. I mean, there's kind of a large supporting cast, and they're well-rounded and interesting characters, and the fairy godmother in that one is actually one of my favorites. Three Wishes for Cinderella was a Czech, and I might get this wrong, I think it was a German and Czech movie production. I could be wrong on that. I know it was Czech in another country that was former Soviet Union, but that one is like a Christmas special in those two countries because it was put out there. I mean, it's not an especially Christmassy story, other than part of it is in the snow, but it was a made-for-TV special. It came out around Christmas time, and it's just a classic in those countries now. And I personally really enjoyed it just because it's fun and it's different and it has that fairy tale aspect to it. You can see in a lot of ways that adaptation, a lot of elements from the Eastern European versions of Cinderella and the Western European version of Cinderella. It's like they really melded those two sides because there really is a difference between those. And so it's really cool. Three Wishes, and the costuming, the characters are kind of fun. Some of the dialogue is nice banter. There's actually a lot of dialogue in that movie, and the music is pretty good. I mean, it's not a musical, but it has a lot of instrumental music going on that kind of tells the story. So that's really cool. And then also, I really liked Roger and Hammerstein's 1964 Cinderella. And I actually didn't realize that this was a lot of people's favorite versions of it. I thought more people liked it. Julia Andrews, um, which was made about 10 years before, and it was black and white. The reason I like this one is there's a few elements to it that, like, Disney did put out 3 different Roger and Hammerstein movies based off of the Roger and Hammerstein scripts and the musicals and everything. And each one of them has, well, a very distinct cast, some different musical numbers, a few added scenes or edited, scenes that aren't in one version but might be in a different version. So, yeah, I'm going to review all 3 of them. And honestly, I don't know that the Brandy version would make it on my top 20 list, but, and I've debated about whether I should allow all 3 of them to be put on the top 20 list or not. But, honestly, if all 3 of them are good enough to stand out against the other 40 plus movies, then yeah, I don't have a problem with all 3 of them being on the top 20 list. Honestly, I'm not sure that they will. And we'll see how I evaluate them as I try to be more critical and rewatch them. But I will be rewatching all 3 of them and reviewing them individually before I finally reveal the big list. So, I think there was something else. Alright, well, I've made this video I don't know how many different times, and there's always something going on in the background or whatever, so I hope this turned out really good. The camera was good, the microphone worked out. When I do more videos, I'll put a little more time and effort and use a better camera for recording these, but I just really wanted to get this first video posted today, since it's the start of a new month. I just started this channel, so I just want to get a nice hello video and introduction out there. Okay, see you soon.